Good afternoon, everyone. This is Futant, clanless, and this is my first Innistrad draft. This is from a couple of weeks ago. I've been way ahead lately, so I've been focusing on playing more than recording. Plus, since I record these after the fact, and I'm a very busy man, I can only record at certain days of the week, and if something comes along that keeps me from doing so, then I don't do it. So, my first pick was Mayor of Averbrook. Mayor of Averbrook is just fantastic. Good, cheap, aggressive card. Brimstone Volley, my favorite removal in the set because it's not conditional. I mean, you do have it gets better if you've got Morbid, but I mean, it always does 3 damage. It's reliable. Whereas a lot of the other cards, you might be able to use it if they're not running vampires. You might be able to use it if you've got a human to target. You know, things like that are kind of finicky, and you can't count on them quite as much. They're still not bad cards, mind you. It's still removal, but Brimstone Volley is pretty awesome, and you know it serves as, in a sense, a goblin grenade if you need it to. Ambush Viper is good stuff. I'm not super thrilled with what I've got so far, other than the Mayor and the Brimstone. I mean, what I'm looking at here is the rest of the packs. You know, I'm not seeing a lot of really good stuff that's going to come back to me. And the nice thing about that is that the other people at the table don't really have some amazing things coming back to them either. Here, Victim of Night is probably the strongest card in the pack. Summerworld Spider and Chapelgeist are okay. Spider's kind of slow, but I mean, you can guarantee that when you get him out, counters or no, he's going to impact the board. So I think he's worth the 5 mana cost investment. Here, we've got my pick, I believe, is Crossway Vampire. This Rage Thrower, a lot of people really like him, and in my experience, he's too slow. He comes out to the board too late. I much prefer Falcon Wrath Noble to the Rage Thrower. Here, probably the thing I should have taken was the Riot Devils. Not an impressive card, really, in and of itself, but 2/3 bodies on the ground are good. I think I take the Prey Upon, though, and that's actually the best card in that pack. So, got a good card out of that. Here I'm going to go for Sleuths. I had just played a few games. This is my first draft here, and I had played a few games where the Woodland Sleuth had really just dominated. And although I still think it's a really fantastic card, it's a bit of a trick to activate right, because you don't want to just throw away a guy into combat to activate it, because then you're replacing the guy you lost, and in some ways you may slow yourself down. But it's really good for those situations where you're going to trade. It's really good for those situations where you're going to force your opponent into killing something on their turn on your side of the board, so that you can get it back. Because then you're truly getting card advantage. You made them burn a removal spell, and you're getting whatever they killed back. And really all they get to do is then slow you down a little bit. Hamlet Captain's good for me. I don't like Hollowhenge Scavenger. He's better for being a 4/5 than he is for the 5 life thing. 5 life is good in close matches. That can swing. That can make quite a bit of difference. But really the 4/5 body, it seems like all the creatures that are 4/5 or better in this block are actually much better than they would be in other blocks. Probably the best thing I probably could have taken here was Caravan Vigil, but I think I take the Rager's Gal. And at this point, I hadn't really thought that Orchard Spirit was amazing enough, because I was still thinking that you'd see a lot of Spirit tokens around. And Orchard Spirit as an unblockable guy is fantastic, but as a guy that can be chumped or killed by 2 weenie spirits, he's less so, and he has a slower evasion card than most. I mean, you've got your Vampire Interlopers and your unblockable hexproof guy, the Invisible Stalker. Those guys tend to be more what you want. That and Chapelgeist tend to be more what you want if you want the evasion thing to be how you're going to win, because those are cards that are good outside of the vacuum of my opponent has no creatures. Selfless Cathar. I thought this guy was really good. The main reason I liked him so much was because you can sack him whenever you want to. The only problem is if you're doing that to activate Morbid, you're basically adding a 2 casting cost to every Morbid creature in your deck. So I've come to the realization at this point the Selfless Cathar is not as good for that purpose. In the right deck, sure, but most of the time he actually serves to slow you down a little bit, because you'd rather probably run the Elder Cathar than the Selfless one. These last picks are pretty boring. I had my price list up earlier. Many of you may think, wow, when was he doing these? Isolated Chapel for $8. Ridiculous stuff, but that's how things were going on the first week of Innistrad. Now I picked the green card here because it's A, the only green card in the pack, and B, because Villager Vestwald is one of my favorite werewolves, because he's good even at that cast at that 2/3 casting point for 3 mana. He only gets better if he becomes a 4/6. Not many things can kill a 4/6 by themselves, so I like that guy, and if I have one werewolf in my deck, he will often be the guy that I take if I'm running green at all. Probably the best cards in this particular pack are Moon Heron, Grasp with Phantasms, and the Orchard Spirit. Maybe the Civilized Scholar there. But this is really kind of a boring pack in my opinion. I take the Crossway Vampire, I believe, but I probably would have been better off hating away something like the Flyer or the Grasp. Although with the Moon Heron, I was kind of still holding out for like a Daybreak Ranger or something. I'll take the Woodland Sleuth here. Probably the best cards in the pack are Alchemy, Deadweight, and of course Rebuke. But I wasn't looking at blue at all, and I wasn't looking to splash an expensive flashback card in this deck. Forbidden Alchemy is an amazing card, though. If you're not in blue-black at the beginning of the second pack, that might be a better card to consider going there. But at this point, I'm really invested in my green-red. Well, not so much my red. My red's okay. I know I want to splash this volley, but I'm looking at green. And ideally, if I can make this deck be a mono green deck, the fact that I will very less likely have to worry about Mana Screw is a good thing. I love the Silver Inlaid Dagger. It's a good aggro card. A lot better when you've got early aggressive things like the Invisible Stalker, Vampire Interloper. If I had Gustav Shepherd, it'd be a fantastic card for him. As it is, I've got a decent number of guys that can use that to a decent advantage here. Always good to put it on a human. Unbreathing Horde, neat, but not for me. Hanweir Watchkeep, probably should have been my pick here, but and maybe I do pick it now that I think about it. Skursdag Cultist, really fantastic in the right deck. A lot of people seem to think it's really good. The only reason I think it's good is because it's a Morbid activator, and because it allows you to sack things in instant speed. So if they target you, oh, never mind, I'm just going to kill that and kill something else in the process. It's a good late game finisher. And then the other thing it's really good for is when you want to chump something and then get a use out of it. I think I hated this Smite the Monstrous there because if I am going to be in red, I didn't want the double red commitment. And, honestly, the Skursdag Cultist probably would have been the best pick there, rather than taking something I know I'm not going to main deck. But that's done. I don't really like Neonate. With the right deck, he can be nice. If you've got a lot of Rakish Airs and some other things, fantastic. I take the Voiceless Spirit because there's still a chance I'm going to go white, especially if I stick to this werewolf and flip card kind of thing. Not that I have a lot of flip cards yet, but I do have the Avabrook, which is kind of like the big daddy of the human werewolf flip cards. I take the Waif there. One thing I really like about werewolves is that they're humans before they're werewolves, and that means that you can utilize things like Silver Inlaid Dagger, like Elder Cathar, and they can be really helpful. Took the Grave Bramble here. I had used it and sealed at this point, and it was pretty nice. I think it's not it's not such a good card for the fact that it's an anti-zombie card. It's a good card because it's 3/4. Most zombie decks are gonna kill you with a horde of 2/2s, and they don't mind throwing one of those at the Grave Bramble. But it's still not a bad card. There was probably something better for me to pick there, but probably my pick here should be Ashmouth Hound, or well, yeah, Village Bellringer still fits into my theme, possibly if I end up in white. And here's where we get to the trash. I don't like Kindercatch Vanilla 6/6, and maybe that was a good card to pick, but Ancient Grudge has the possibility of being used twice, so we went with that. People play their artifacts. I wouldn't say that everybody has a dependence on artifacts in this set, not like you would say in Shards of Mirrodin, where if you take artifact removal, it was definitely going to have a use. Scars of Mirrodin. That's what that is, not shards. But people do run their Geist Catchers. People do run some equipment. People do run that Juggernaut. And there, I got a Cultist. I guess that was a wheel of the one that I saw earlier. So that's actually really nice when something like that comes back to you, and when you're not expecting it. Liking how this curve looks, but it still needs possibly some color fixing. I'd love to see a Pilgrim about now. Maybe a Caravan Vigil. Shimmering Grotto would be playable, assuming that there wasn't any big nasty creature that was better. Falconwrath Marauders is just really good. So is Mausoleum Guard. Dead Weight, of course. Bonds of Faith is fantastic. People don't get Bonds of Faith enough. I mean, there are times when people will play it on somebody else's creature when it's better on their own guy. There are times when people think, "Oh, you're putting that on my werewolf? It's going to be a human soon." Well, good luck with that. Bonds of Faith is just fantastic. It stops all the scary spirits, stops all the scary vampires and zombies. What did I take? I didn't take the Falconwrath Noble. Oh, I took the Mausoleum Guard. That was a tough pick. And now that I've got the next pick being Geist Honored Monk, I'm really happy about that Mausoleum Guard. And here I'm starting to think back to all those Chapel Geists I passed. I passed 2 at the beginning of the first pack, and I'm going, man, I really like these guys for what my current deck looks like. Here probably I'm going to end up taking the Noble. Yeah, that card is just too powerful. I don't want to give any of those away. It sucks because I lost some good cards there, but Noble will kill me probably in this draft, and I was aware of it being a scary card. Travel Prep actually works really well for me in this build, and I think it was brilliant that I picked that there. I've got a lot of creatures, and a very real possibility of having a 3-color scheme here. And the thing that's really good about those flashback cards is that they are in and of themselves card advantage, because you use it once, it affects the board state, and then you have a really good chance of being able to use it again. We've got the Blood Hall, not good for me. I like those spell lands though, but Spider Spawning is probably really good, but Geist Flame did me really well in my sealed, and it's my clear pick here. Geist Flame gets rid of so many important threats. It gets rid of your interlopers, your voiceless spirits, your Fen Snakes, if anyone's actually running them. Here, I think I like the Mask of Avacyn when I've got lots of cheap flyers or Orchard Spirits, but Villagers of Eswald is good in almost any scenario with my deck. The only other potential thing I might do there is hate away that lifelink vampire, but no, we clearly pick our vampire or our werewolf because we've got a werewolf deck. We've got a very decent bridging deck between humans and werewolves, and like I said earlier, that means that if I get my Mayor of Avabrook into play, then whatever state he's in, he's impacting my board in a way that's favorable. I mean, even the Skursdag cultist is a human. We know we don't want those ghostly presences. There is the deck that would want that. You know, if you're running a blue-white mill, you might want that. I'm going to take the waif here. One thing I've noted... No, I didn't take the waif. What did I take? Oh, Blazing Torch, yeah. You can take Blazing Torch. Blazing Torch is a good shock spell at any point. I've never once used it as evading vampires and zombies. Generally, vampires and zombies don't tend to be home to block, in my experience. The only ones that tend to stay home are Olivia and Bloodline Keeper, and if your opponent has those, you may as well just give up, because they're hard to get around in this set. Halberg is a better card than I give it credit, but here, clear pick is Spidery Grasp. And this may have changed, and maybe I'd take Make-A-Wish here. Yeah, the lure of the potential card gain there got me. I think Spidery Grasp was the better pick, though. Make-A-Wish can be really good, but Spidery Grasp is always really good. Take another Cathar. I think I'm fine with that pick. And now there's really nothing left. I'll probably take the Nightbird's Clutches, knowing full well that I may or may not run it. It's actually a pretty doggone good card. I mean, Nightbird's Clutches and Feeling of Dread are really decent cards. Take the Fence Snake here, just a big dude I don't want somebody else to have. Scourge is unbelievably good as that late a pick for me. Not saying it should have necessarily gone faster, but I mean it's almost guaranteed to be a 4/4 when it comes out. Wait, yeah, 4/4 when it comes out. And if they want to play any other creatures, it's going to get scarier. Wreath of Geist, whatever. This is the dregs. We know we're not going to play any of this, but everything I've got here curves out really well, and it fits with the human/werewolf setup that I set out to do upon opening a Mayor of Avabrook. So first we're going to throw all our humans into the deck. Unruly Mob at this point was a relatively untested card for me. I don't think it actually was good in this deck, but almost everything else here had its moments. Hamlet Captain is not the best of guys in my opinion, but I mean, okay, you've got Grizzly Bears. They're 2/2s. They do nothing. This is a 2/2 that affects almost every other creature in my deck when they're out and play together. So it ran the possibility of being good. It's always at least a 2/2. We know we want our Geist Flame. We know we want our Brimstone Volley, because those are utility spells. Because I don't have much color fixing, I really didn't think the Cultist would work. In retrospect, I think the Cultist may have been a good card to include. I tend to run my decks a little over, in case you haven't noticed. It very well may be that this deck will end up sitting at 42 cards. We're seeing a lot of white, so trying to run as much of that as possible. The cards I don't think belong in this pool, in retrospect, are probably Make-A-Wish and Unruly Mob. I'm finding that I tend to be happiest when I have 17 solid creatures in my deck, but realistically speaking, it just tends to be in this environment that I end up with 15 without fail, and that's where I would want this deck to be. Looking at it now, it's got a lot of really good things going for it. It doesn't have anything that just hits the table and makes everybody just flip out. I mean, other than an unchallenged Mayor of Everbrook. The only problem with that Mayor is that he falls to most of the removal in the set. Really wish I'd had a Gat Staff or something along those lines to accompany him. I decided here I didn't want to run 2 Cathars. Or, I don't know. We're monkeying. Anyway, a couple of things may get cut here, but I'm going to go ahead and just fast forward it to the play video.